All right, so here we have a pretty unique setup. I actually got the Velvetone Black Panther design from Mapex. That comes with like a 22 by 18 inch kick drum, and then 16 by 16 inch floor tom, 14 by 14. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to try doing something different with these drums. And so therefore I've designed what I like to call the bass kick. I've coined it the bass kick, or hashtag bass kick instincts. So essentially, yeah, it's just a 16 by 16 inch floor tom that I converted into a bass drum. And I reversed the chain drive on the double pedal so that it actually swings upwards. And then I've seen kits that had like a 16 by 16 inch kick drum. So I just converted this into a kick drum itself, but more or less like the cocktail drum kits. Like I've seen those stand-up drum kits that, yeah, the pedal swings upwards. So I saw that done with Tama pedals, so that's why I got these Iron Cobras so that they actually swing up nice. No parts are hitting each other. And then since I did that, I wanted to have a gong drum, which, you know, like you see a lot of drummers, they have the kick drums on either side with no head on the bottom. But I thought to myself, I was like, okay, I want the snappiness of the 16 by 16 and the punchiness, but I don't want to lose the low end, especially because I play hard rock and heavy metal. So I actually took the left side of a double kick pedal, which needs to be oiled up just a tad. But essentially I still get the use of my 22 by 18 inch kick drum and the depth of that, the low end. But now I have access to two kick drum sounds and types. So for more of them like an eclectic kind of style when it comes to drumming. So this is my unique bass kick setup. I can still play the tops of both of them as well and do some pretty unique patterns. I get the gong drum sound, 22 inch kick drum sound, and then I get the 16 by 16 inch kick drum punchiness, but I also can play the top, and it's just another sound source to have on the drum kit. All right, now that we have the bass kick set up, the way that I have the pedals stretched out, I'm able to fit the 14 by 14 inch tom right in between the 16 by 16 inch bass kick and the 22 by 18 inch kick drum that I'm also using as a gong drum. So as I was trying to put all the toms in position, I was actually having a hard time and struggling with the fact that I've always played the 10 inch tom on my left side and then my 12 inch tom on my right side. Because the 16 by 16 inch floor tom, which is my bass kick, has a higher height, I was having a hard time positioning it. So essentially what I did originally is I had my 12 inch tom on my left side beside the hi-hat. Then I realized that it would actually fit perfectly where between the hi-hat and the 10 inch tom. So that being said, I was still able to have my 10 inch tom as a rack tom and my 14 on the floor, which is a pretty classic, four-piece setup. And now what I've done, as you can see, is I put the 12 inch tom just on the left side, and this creates a very symmetrical type of pattern where, as I see patterns as well, it just kind of gives me this symmetrical feel where I can play the 16 and 12. They're flush on an even height, and I still have access to the classic pattern of having a 10 inch tom up here and a 14 down here. So everything's kind of symmetrical around the positioning of my snare drum. All right, so there we have it. This is my Mapex Black Panther Velvetone bass kick instinct drum kit, as I like to call it. So essentially, I was given this drum kit by Mapex Drums Canada, and I didn't really know what to do with it because there were so many drums, and I've actually never played with so many drums. So I re-engineered it and made it very, very unique in terms of having the 16 by 16 inch floor tom that's been converted into kick drum, which I like to call a bass kick, because I couldn't also, like many drummers, decide if it was a bass drum or a kick drum. And then also with my 22 by 18 inch kick drum, I turned it into a gong drum slash bass drum that I still have access to. So I now have two different tones from the 16 inch kick drum and the 22 inch kick drum, and I can also play the tops of both of them and get some very unique patterns, as well as I described, we have the symmetrical aspect of the toms, but we have the 10 in front of me as a rack tom, and then we have the 12 on my left side, and the 14 on my right side. So I'm able to access some really unique patterns here, and overall I'm very comfortable behind this, and any drummer that ever sits behind my drum kit now is totally uncomfortable, so they say only Steve can play this. It's kind of true right now. Now with each drum shell, I've configured them with the Randall May internal miking system. So as you can see inside the shells, I have the Sennheiser 604s that are dialed in directly in the center of the drum skin, so I get a nice attack, and they sing beautifully with the overhead mic, so I get like a nice stereo image, but I can kind of boost the punchiness of the drums with those internal mics. And the beautiful thing is they're naturally gated, so there's almost no bleed between the cymbals and the drums. So these also are plugged in by an XLR system, and yeah, I just have to plug in and go. So when I play live or I'm here in the studio, it's as simple as just plugging them in and going. So now with the kick drum as well as the 16 by 16 inch bass kick, I have the Randall May monorail system with the internal mic. So it's like a free floating rail where you can adjust the microphones to be closer to the head, a bit further back, so that they're more or less in phase with each other. So this system, it's ATM 230 microphones, and they get that punchy but also like high end of the kick drum, so it's not just the low end and you have to boost high frequencies. They really make these shells sing, and I get a very even feel and even sound between the 16 by 16 inch bass kick and the 22 by 18 inch bass drum. So last but not least, I have these incredible Turkish cymbals made by Murat Duril himself, who's also coined the godfather of cymbals. So to my left here, I have the Fast Crash, which is bright to similar aspect of what a lot of drummers currently play when they're using other brands, but this obviously is like the Cadillac of cymbals, so it just has such a unique, beautiful, bright, clean tone. So I like to use that on my left side just to kind of like get those fast choke cymbals and just a bit of brightness in the playing. To my right side, my other crash is a 20-inch Black Sea crash, so it's actually pretty much in reverse of the Fast Crash with a golden bell and then a raw type of kind of like I don't know, this dark vibe that I absolutely love when I'm washing crash cymbals. Then to my left again, I have a 22-inch China. So this thing crashes just as loud as my 22-inch kick drum on my right side. So they're both the same size. It's absolutely insane. So when I play these simultaneously, it's absolutely insane. Here I have a 14-inch Mosaic little hi-hats. So I really love these because they're crisp but still dark. And I'm a huge fan of the dark series and the dark tones that come from these cymbals. Right in front of you, we have the 10-inch Splash, and this is Black Sea as well. So very similar to the Crash that I have, the 20-inch. It just has that dark but still bright and dark wash all together in one cymbal. It's great. Here I have my 22-inch Ride by Murat Duril. So I've actually done a video of this previously where it still has such a beautiful, beautiful tone in it. But I handpicked this one out of 6 that they had when I first joined the team. They lined them all up and I tried all 6 of them, but this one has a special birthmark, burn mark right here. So there's a very special burn mark when it was birthed, I should say. And it just has a very, very unique sound to it because of that burn mark. So I chose this one out of the group, and every single 22-inch Black Sea ride by Murat Daril has its own unique tone. So I absolutely love this one specifically, and it's going to be part of my arsenal forever. Over here I actually have the 12-inch two-face stack. So this one's very, very unique. You can actually flip it inside out. I'm going to do my own YouTube video just for this cymbal specifically with a playthrough, because it's so unique that I can't fit it all into this one today. Over here I've actually created my own stack. So as I've mentioned, I have a lot of Mosaic and Black Sea series by Murat Daril on this drum kit, but this one I actually took a 19-inch FX custom crash. It's the Black Sea series, and I stacked it on top of a 20-inch Mosaic crash. So with both of these combined, I got a really cool fat stack sound that actually resonates for quite a long time. So between my two-face stack and the big fat stack over here, I have so many different colors and tones and varieties of bright cymbals and dark cymbals as a part of my arsenal, that going with this walnut and maple drum shell kit by Mapex Drums, it all sings beautifully together, and everything's been handpicked to my liking as a drummer and for my hard rock and heavy metal style. So this is the Chris Stephenson in-home studio setup. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, hit that notification button as well, and let me know if you have any questions below, and I will be sure to answer them all. And there will be many more videos coming your way shortly. Cheers.